are almost live on these platforms. Right. Now that we are streaming live, and if anyone is joining us from YouTube and LinkedIn, thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you here. Right now, our audience is introducing themselves. So please go ahead and introduce yourselves in the comment section. Please tell us your name, the city you're joining us from, and what you're currently doing. Let me quickly read out a few introductions from the chat that I can see here. So we have Anjali joining us from Chennai. She's an IT team lead. That's great. Wonderful to know. Thanks for introducing yourself. Hi, Kabir, product owner from Mumbai. Hi, Tessa from London. Hi, Rohan, a business analyst exploring AI. That's wonderful. Hi, Grace from Singapore. Hi, Priya from HR. Okay, and she's joining us from Pune. It's wonderful to have you here as well. Thanks for introducing yourself. Hi, David, who's a project manager from Bangalore. Great. Hi from Kochi, Hyderabad. All right, so we have a lot of introductions, and because of the high volume of responses that we are getting right now, I am not able to read all of it, but it's wonderful to see all of your introductions. Thank you all for joining us today. It's great to have you here. So like I said earlier, this is going to be a really impactful session, and the topic is also very interesting. It's Agile Career Trends, the skill gaps that could end your career in 2026. So this is going to be a wonderful session. And because all of you introduced yourself, I think it's time for me to introduce myself as well. I'm Shweta, joining from Simplilearn, and I'm going to be your host for today's webinar. We also have a wonderful speaker joining us today. I'll give her introductions shortly. But before we get there, here are a few ground rules that all of you have to keep in mind before we go ahead in the session. So if you have any questions specifically to today's webinar, or if you want Louisa to answer any of your questions, I request all of you to post your questions in the Q&A box. The reason being, we'll keep a track of these questions and ensure that these are answered towards the end of the webinar. We have a dedicated session specifically for that. Please use the chat box effectively. Let's keep the conversations related to today's topic. It's a very interesting topic in itself, so let's not share any external links, and let's not spam the chat. Also, because of the high number of messages that we get there, we have enabled the chat view to host and panelists. We don't want to disturb the audience that because of all the chat that we receive. And finally, for the certificate of participation, we will be launching a poll towards the end of the webinar. All you will have to do is share your full name, and you will be receiving your certificate, the slide deck, and the recording to your email ID within the next 48 working hours. So with that, I think I have covered the ground rules, and I hope we are all on the same page. If we are clear, you can all give me a thumbs up in the chat. All right, so many reactions. That's great. All right, so without wasting any more of our time, I'll quickly take you through what we do at Simplilearn. I'm just curious, how many of you are joining us for the very first time? If you're joining us for the first time, or if you've attended webinars with us before, please go ahead and share your responses in the chat box. If it's your first time, you can just type first, or if you have attended webinars with us previously, then you can go ahead and let us know the number of times you've attended webinars before. All right. Okay, the chat box is filling up with so many messages. So many of you saying first time, first time, first time. So many first timers. A few of you mentioning second time, third time. All right. First. Okay. Majority of you are first timers, I'm assuming, from the responses in the chat, and a few of you joining us for the second or the third time. So for anyone who's joining us again, great to see you all back. It's wonderful to have you attend our webinars again. And for any of you joining us for the very first time, welcome to Simplilearn webinars. We're really happy that you decided to join us for our webinars. I'll quickly take 2 minutes of your time and tell you about Simplilearn and what we do. So at Simplilearn, our priority has always been to transform lives by empowering people, and we do these through online courses in multiple fields and domains. So currently, we have helped over 15 million learners advance their careers across 150 plus countries, and we do these through global partnerships. Talking about partnerships, right now on the screen, you can see some of our university and industry partners. And one of the biggest reasons professionals choose Simplilearn is the also the strength of the ecosystem we build along with the learning experience that they have. And our industry partners are very crucial in this aspect as well. We work alongside some of the world's leading universities and technology organizations, like you can see on the screen. And our priority is always that learning should prepare you for the future, and that's what we aim to do here. So, I'll quickly take you through some of our metrics, some highlights about our programs. So, most of our learners have reported a 50% salary hike on completion of courses with us, and we have also been rated 4.8 out of 5 by most of our learners. So, this clearly talks about the kind of learning experience you can expect from us at Simplilearn. If you decide to join our classes or even through webinars, we always deliver a lot of value. That has always been our aim as well. We also have a graduation rate of 80%, which is great because most often you enroll for a class and we see that a lot of people drop off after the first week or the second week. But here we see that most of our learners complete the courses. So our graduation rates speaks about the learning experience again. So these are some highlights that we wanted to share with all of you before we begin the segment. So I think that's about Simplilearn and what we do, and I hope we are clear on that. And that brings me to the one of the most exciting parts for me as a host. It is introducing the guest speaker, and I'm very happy to introduce Luisa Villegas, who is our guest speaker for today's session. So Luisa brings together something that's surprisingly rare. She has decades of experience working across traditional project management, agile delivery, and modern AI-enabled ways of working, which makes her classes also really unique and special. She's worked with organizations navigating predictive, hybrid, and agile environments, helping professionals understand not just Scrum frameworks, but also how those frameworks evolve as businesses evolve. She is a certified PMP professional, a disciplined Agile Scrum Master, an experienced educator, and has spent years mentoring professionals, preparing them for Agile certifications, while also helping them to understand what success actually looks like beyond just passing the exam. So she gives you practical knowledge, something that we value a lot at Simplilearn. And what I particularly appreciate is her focus on helping professionals connect agile principles with today's AI-powered workplace environment, which is something which is very crucial. So Luisa has been an amazing mentor, and a lot of attendees have benefited greatly from her workshop and webinars. So you guys are really, lucky to be here to attend her session today. So Luisa, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to today's session. It's great to have you here, and I'm sure everyone's waiting to hear more from you. So please go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Oh, thank you so much, Shweta. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I love doing these webinars. I also, teach the PMP classes for Simplilearn and other classes in our project manager program. And as you said, I am very committed. I'm very passionate about helping students and project management practitioners develop new skills, get new certifications, and advance in their careers. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and I'm very excited to start with this topic.
Yes, I'm sure everyone's waiting to hear more from you on this. So we'll get started right away. Before we begin, I think this is something I want to highlight, that the job has changed, but the title didn't. And this is a very powerful statement because with AI coming into place, with a lot of changes happening in this field, we have seen that the title has pretty much remained the same. But what is expected from an agile practitioner has changed significantly. So, what are your thoughts on that? What has happened and why has it evolved so quickly?
Yes, absolutely, Shweta. I think we know already that AI has been one of the biggest disruptors for every possible industry, and project management and agile, especially, is not an exception. And so with AI, there's a lot of different trends that we're seeing in the industry that have changed the expectations of what an agile practitioner, and specifically in this case, we're going to be talking about Scrum Masters, right? What are they expected to do? And so we're going to see some very specific trends that are happening in the industry and that are changing what is the role of a Scrum Master? What is the role of an Agile practitioner? In general, what is the role of a project manager, right? Because we are problem solvers, we enable value delivery, and with the presence of AI in all of our work, that has made our role a little bit different. So I think it is going to be interesting to see what those four specific trends that we have identified are.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot that we have to cover, so I'll quickly get on to the next slide. Here's another very important metric that says 95% say agile skills matter in their career, but fewer than half can explain how AI changes the job. So we always have a lot of participants who have a lot of experience as well, but we see that they're not able to get that promotion or the jobs that they're aiming for just because they are not really experienced in the field of AI, or they do not understand how to integrate AI into their current domain. So, what are your thoughts on that? How significant has it become? And is it possible for someone in their later career to upskill themselves right now?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Shweta. I think it's never too late to learn. I always bring the example of my dad, who is going to be 80 years old. And from the last like 3 or 4 or 5 years, he's worked in software industry for many years. And he embraced AI. And he was recently selected as one of the few Latin American leaders to go to a conference at the Microsoft headquarters to talk about AI. So it's never too late. You should be always ready to learn, to continue to be curious, to develop new skills, because that is the expectation. You can no longer just obtain your certification and sit comfortably thinking, I'm done. I have my PMP or I am a Scrum Master. We are expected to be continuous evolving. This is why a lot of certifications actually require those continuing education credits to maintain your certifications. And AI is going to be the main expectation that current active agile practitioners are going to expect to be having.
Right. And that was a wonderful example. I think your dad would inspire a lot more people to think that way and go ahead and upskill themselves as well. We have established that the role of an agile professional is evolving, like from everything that you've said. But many people are actually wondering why it is it happening right now. We understand that AI has come into place, but is there any other factors that contribute to this change happening right now?
Well, I mean, obviously, Agile is shifting from just being knowledgeable about IT to it's a core competency that is going to be required across all industries, right? Because we are seeing that a lot of organizations, when I ask my students, are you in your organization going through some type of transformation? I would say that 99% say yes. Some of them say all the time. We are going to transformations all the time. Mergers, acquisitions, transformations of digital platforms, incorporation of AI, right? So we are now working in environments where there is constant transformation. And so Agile is also going to provide us those skills that are going to let us be more nimble, that are going to allow us to be more resilient, to work and deliver value even when there is constant change, right? So for specifically for Scrum Masters, people tended to think about Scrum Masters as just those people that are really good communicators. They facilitate ceremonies, they engage people. That's a role that has evolved, and it's no longer just facilitating ceremonies. We're going to talk about what are the expectations that these Scrum Masters have. And also because a lot of newer generations are coming already being quite AI fluent. And so, for those of us that have been in this industry for perhaps a little bit longer, if we don't embrace these changes, if we don't evolve, if we don't adopt these new skills, we're going to be left behind. So, I think this is where those gaps in skills are going to be very critical for us to remain relevant, for us to have a seat at the table, to make decisions, to continue to be people that deliver not just value for one project, but that deliver organizational value, that we can sit at the table and contribute to strategic thinking, to organizational alignment. So those are where those gaps are going to be critical.
Right. Those are some very significant and important points. Thanks for pointing them out. There's a lot more that we need to cover. So I saw a few questions about what we're going to cover today. So I'll walk our audience through the agenda for today's session, what we're going to be covering. So we're going to start by looking at 4 key changes that are shaping the future of Agile. These are the trends that are changing how Agile teams work and what organizations are looking for in Agile professionals today. Next, we'll talk about what these changes mean for your career. Whether you're already working in Agile or planning to transition in this field, we'll discuss the skills that are becoming increasingly important. After that, we'll explore where the Certified Scrum Master or CSM certification fits into all of this. Who is it designed for, what you're going to learn, and how it can help you stay competitive in today's job market. And towards the end, we'll walk you through our training program and then we'll spend some time answering all of your questions. So by the end of the session, you'll have a much clearer understanding of where Agile is headed, the skills employers are looking for, and the steps you can take to prepare yourself for the future. So I hope the agenda is clear. With that, let's get started. And before we get start with the first segment, I would quickly like to ask our audience this question. Which of this best describes you? Are you already working in Agile? Are you a project manager or team lead? Are you looking to transition into Agile? Are you already a certified Scrum Master, a business analyst, or exploring certification options? You can share your responses in the chat and we will keep an eye for the same. So let me just see what you're all saying. Okay, I can see a few of you mentioning project manager, already working in Agile, great, looking to transition. I can see a mix of all responses, a few business analysts here. Some are already, I can see that a lot of you are also exploring certification options. So for all of you who are exploring, I think this is a great place to be. We hope to give you a lot more clarity on what this role entails, how you can get there. Project manager, exploring certifications. Okay, great. So I cannot come to a conclusion because it's in the chat. I can see that a lot of you have joined us and various options. You've almost selected almost all the options. So we have people at different stages and different job profiles here. So we hope to give all of you clarity today, and that is on our agenda as well. So that's great. Thank you all for sharing that. So I think it's time for us to start the very first segment. So Louisa, we've talked about expectations from Agile professionals and how it's changing with AI, but I'd love to understand what's actually driving this change. From your experience, what are the biggest shifts reshaping Agile today? And why do you believe every Scrum Master and Agile professional needs to understand the 4 shifts that are reshaping Scrum in the coming year?
Absolutely. Yes, Shweta, as we said, AI is really the biggest disruptor that we have seen in the industry in a long time, right? The industry, the project management, the agile industry has been evolving, right? But nothing has made such a big impact as the appearance of AI and the incorporation of AI pretty much into every industry, every organization, no matter how large or how small, right? So because we now have access to all these AI powered tools, we are now expected to be using those tools to make our work better, more efficient, right? To deliver more value. So how are we going to do that? AI can help us, for example, do more smarter backlogs, smarter documents, where we are going to be taking less time generating those documents. We're going to spend a little bit more time on each of this, so I'm just going to do a quick overview and then we'll go into each one of them. We can also use AI for helping us do better analysis, better predictions about what our sprints are going to look like. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to talk about stagility and hybrid delivery, and then we're gonna ask our learners a little bit later what they think this is. And the no code and citizen development is very interesting because this is placing tools that in the past were sort of restricted or confined to IT experts on the hands of everyone. So we'll see how that is also affecting our role. So let's start with the first one. Let's go into our AI powered backlog and docs. So what does this mean? This means that AI can help you produce your repetitive task, your administrative work faster. We know that AI is a content generation tool like ChatGPT or like Claude. They can help you. For example, let's say that you have a project, you have an idea, you can ask your AI tool of reference to generate a backlog for you, to tell you, let's say that you have an idea, but it's an epic. Okay, how do I break this down? How do I break this epic down into usable user stories that are more appropriate in size for my sprint? If I have a backlog, we can ask the AI tool, can you please see if there's any dependencies that am I missing? Are my user stories repetitive? Do they make sense? Do I have any blind spots here that I'm not looking at? In terms of documentation, we know already, for example, that minutes, nobody signed up to be a Scrum Master to write minutes. I think we all hate writing minutes, right? So that is one easy adoption use of AI, is just letting AI write the meeting minutes for you. Right? Obviously, and we're going to repeat this throughout this presentation, we always talk about this when we talk about AI, and it is that AI is a tool. You are still the Scrum Master. You are still the Agile practitioner. You are still the PMP. Human in the loop. You are still responsible for vetting, for reviewing, for fine-tuning that content that AI generates for you, okay? So it's not that AI is replacing our job. AI is assisting us in developing content specifically for this shift that we're talking about here, quicker, to provide us complete drafts, but we still have to go in and apply our experience, our judgment, our skills to make those contents better, more appropriate, tailored to our specific situation, right? So that is very important. We are not just letting AI do the work for us. We're using AI as a tool to assist us in drafting quicker, in perhaps finding blind spots that we may have missed, in helping us break down complex content, for example, right? For risk identification, we could present a backlog to AI and say, can you help me identify what are the risks? What are potential responses? If I have documentation from previous projects, I could also load those risk registers or lessons learned from previous projects and say, okay, based on what we did in the past, what do you think are the most common risks that we are going to face for this project? And what solutions work best? So based on historical data that would take a human a long time to review, to read, to analyze, and then to draw conclusions, AI can do that for us in seconds. So AI is going to help us take over or facilitate, make more efficient those administrative tasks, while we are going to retain the power to do those tasks that AI cannot do for us. Facilitation, engagement, communication, leadership, strategic analysis. So it is going to liberate, to free up time that we otherwise would spend in this administrative task, in drafting minutes, in drafting a backlog. We can now use that time more strategically. So it is going to speed up that administrative heavy work, and it is going to help us identify those risks earlier. Okay, so we are going to be more efficient, but we're going to have more time into the skills that are expected from an experienced agile practitioner, right? You are going to have more time to develop strategic thinking, to develop new skills, to engage your team, to make sure that your team members are empowered, that they can make decisions, to coach, to mentor. Those are important things that AI is not going to replace. So the Scrum Master, it's still going to have an important role. The role is going to not be replaced by AI, but it is going to give us more visibility, better decision making, faster, the ability to create content faster. So that is how this shift is going to impact the Scrum Master's role. So let's move into the second shift, and it's very similar to the previous one. So in the previous one, we saw how AI can help us draft, generate content, help us in those administrative tasks. Here, we're going to be talking about analysis, about prediction. So when we're trying to plan a sprint, we can use historical data and analytics to then AI help us forecast, predict how quickly are we going to be able to go through the work. So am I going to be able to complete all these user story points in this sprint, or am I being unrealistic? Is my velocity, meaning the number of user story points that we are completing in a sprint, is it an indication of a risk? What is happening? Why has my velocity have been going down in the last sprints? And how do I need to adjust for my next sprint planning, right? So it is going to help us reduce the guesswork. Even if you are on sprint 1 or sprint 0, right? You don't have any historical data of your team yet. You can still feed historical data from previous similar projects. You can give it information about how experienced your team members are, what kind of projects have they worked on, what skills do they have, what kind of risks do we see in terms of my team gelling, right? Coming together, going through those traditional forming stages that we talk about when we talk about the Tuckman ladder of stages, how teams evolve. And then AI can tell us, based on the information that you're telling me, I would predict that your first sprint, your team is going to be able to complete X number of points, right? So it is going to give us a little bit more certainty. We can then, with more confidence, tell our senior management, when can we deliver? When are we going to be able to have that first iteration that we are going to be able to release into market, right? So it is going to help us have more realistic commitments. It is going to help us flag risk before it becomes, a problem. And it is going to allow us to not spend so much time reviewing historical information and trying to guess what it is going to be like. So it is a really powerful tool in estimation, which is something that Scrum Masters, product owners, in general, project management practitioners, we have to do all the time. We have to estimate so that we can provide answers to those sponsors, those clients, those executives that need to know. They need to know, when are we going to deliver value? So this is where AI is also going to be very powerful. So now, before we go into shift number 3, which is about stagility, I want to ask our audience if they know what that means. Because I know the first time I came across that word, I was like, wait, is that a typo? What is that? So I want to see, type in the chat if you guys know what that means, because I think it is sort of a newer term. Or if you don't know, what would you guess? What is stagility? Okay, somebody says that it has to do with agility and stages. Okay. Hybrid work. Okay. No, it's not a typo. I know it looks like a typo, but it is not a typo. It is actually a term. Okay, I see some creative answers. I love it. So for those of you that talked about hybrid, and I think some of you got it because it has to do with stability and agility. So we can go into our next slide and we're going to see what this means. So stagility is a portmanteau, meaning the fusion of two words to create a new one, right? And it has to do with stability and agility. So we have seen that most organizations nowadays, they are not 100% pure agile. Most organizations are going to need to have sort of a mix of the stability and the governance that predictive produces, right? Where we have a little bit more clear rules of engagement. We have perhaps compliance that needs to be followed. We need to have some general answers about how much things are going to cost, when main deliverables are going to be delivered or completed. And so organizations are looking to still conserve or preserve some of that governance, that stability, that certainty that managers and executives sometimes are looking for, while at the same time they also value the benefits of agile work, right? Continuous and frequent delivery, being able to react to changes, being able to incorporate feedback in real time, frequent engagement with our stakeholders. Those are some of the benefits that Agile brings to the table that organizations like and they see a lot of value. So when organizations mix or they do like a hybrid approach where they want to preserve some of this stability but also benefit from Agile work, that's what we call Stagility. So it is a blend of that more structured governance that also incorporates the flexibility that doing the work in Agile is going to do. So let's talk about an example. Let's say, for example, that your project is about creating software for a hospital. So hospital health projects, as you know, as banking industry projects, they have very heavy compliance. There's a lot of need for documentation. There's a lot of need for following certain rules. It cannot just be, willy-nilly. We're going to see how things work as we go with our iterations. They are going to need some type of certainty. So they are going to conserve perhaps certain rules, certain processes and procedures for documentation, for the way that you treat privacy and private information, for following compliance, for example, in the US with HIPAA laws, right? That are going to be very strict on how you manage data and personal information from people that are coming to the hospital. So they are going to preserve this through a more predictive or more stable governance structure. But they want the ability to have the software developed in sprints, in iterations, where there is feedback, where change can be quickly incorporated into our backlog, where the work is defined by user stories, thinking about how the different users are going to be accessing or delivering value from that software. So that is kind of the idea, that we are going to balance that stability of teams that they need, but also business speed, right? Think of it, I'll give another example. Think of it as a cruise ship. You're the captain of a cruise ship. So obviously there's going to be a lot of rules and procedures about how you do things. Maybe your route has been planned for months in advance and you have certain key dates in which you have to be at certain ports. But the captain, while they're navigating, they're going to be adjusting, making small adjustments based on the weather, based on conditions, based on information that they're getting in real time. So that is what is expected, right? There is a very stable governance framework that provides that stability, that confidence, that certainty that we're going to need. But also in our day-to-day, we can implement Agile through the role of a Scrum Master and an Agile team that are going to be delivering value frequently and are going to be able to respond to change. So again, in the Scrum Master position, that is going to be a little bit of a slight expectation that is different, because the Scrum Master is no longer in an agile bubble. They are not just doing this facilitating ceremonies and the daily scrum or the daily stand-up. They need to be comfortable doing that, but also providing some more certainty and navigating a more stable and predictive governance structure in which they are going to operate. So they are going to be working inside those blended models that are not exclusively an agile bubble. They are moving in an organization that still wants to preserve some of those more predictive aspects of project management. So it's not a pure agile only role. So now with that, let's move to our last shift, which is the no code and citizen development. So I love this because I am not an engineer. I'm not a software developer. My background is not in IT. Shweta, my background couldn't be more far from that. My background is in communications and journalism and political science. But somehow, life gave me the opportunity to become a project manager and then to transition also into learning about Agile and leading projects in digital transformation. And AI is my best friend for this. Why? Because then I can speak the language, I can learn, and I can deliver value that is software development oriented or IT oriented without being an IT expert, right? So today, for example, if I need to do some small or simple automation, I can do that with the help of tools like Zapier or like Microsoft Power Apps, right? I don't need to be a developer. I don't need to go and procure, an outside team to do small coding or simple coding. I can do that myself. And so this is what we call no code or citizen development. Regular citizens like me can now become developers. And we don't need to be IT experts, right? We don't need engineering support. Obviously, for more complex roles, the engineers are still going to be needed. So it's not like we're replacing them, but it is going to allow us to do faster building of simple automation, simple flows that perhaps we can power by AI, repetitive work, simple forms, for example. That was one of the latest things that I did is I needed a form to capture some information from users, but I didn't want users to have to repeat information if we already had it in the system. So a very simple, like no code or low code, right? LCNC, that's another term that you'll hear. LCNC means low code, no code. I was able to create a small automation powered by AI. So this is going to also change the role of the Scrum Master because the Scrum Master is going to need to be comfortable with the team members doing some of this work, right? When you are not necessarily working with engineers or with IT people, that they can also take benefit from using some of these AI powered tools that are allowing us to speed up the work, to do simple automations, even if you're not an engineer. So as a team leader, as a project leader, even if I am not an engineer or an IT developer, I need to become comfortable, not just me using those tools, but also empowering my team members to use those tools so that we can all benefit from these new applications that are going to allow us to do perhaps some work that before we would have to go out and perhaps procure or hire or go outside of my team and look for some skills that we didn't have. And I think this is super powerful. So as the Scrum Master, as Agile practitioners, we have to be comfortable with this. And the way that we do that is by leading by example. So we have to test the tools. We have to identify what are those tasks that are repetitive. So one easy way is just to look at how is my team spending time. And if I see that they're spending a lot of time on repetitive tasks, then that's an opportunity for automation or for using an AI powered tool to become a little bit more effective. So I would say, Shweta, that those are the four most important shifts that we're seeing in the profession.
Luisa, thank you for breaking that down so clearly. And I think one major thing that stands out from this discussion that we had is that none of these shifts are actually replacing the role of a Scrum Master, like you mentioned. They are expanding the opportunities that you can actually use as a Scrum Master. So whether it's AI that you spoke of, or predictive planning, hybrid delivery models, they're all changing how agile professionals create value within organizations. And I think it's very important that we all understand that it's not changing replacing your jobs. And it's also that we to stay relevant in today's time and age, we will have to upskill ourselves with AI and make use of all the opportunities that we have out there. So that also means that this will have or create more opportunities for you in your career space as well. But before we get into that segment, we have a very quick question for all of you. And this is a poll question. You can share your responses in the chat. So, which of these was completely new to you? So, Luisa spoke about four different things today. and all of which were of great value. So, was it AI assisted agile? Was it predictive sprint planning, stagility, and hybrid delivery? Or was it no code and citizen development? So, please go ahead and share your responses in the chat. All right, I can see a lot of people mentioning stagility and hybrid delivery. I think that is a very new term. It was new to me as well. So, a lot of you mentioning option three, a few of you mentioning two, predictive sprint planning. Okay, no code and citizen development. All right. A few of you saying AI assisted agile. Great. But I think mostly it is stagility and hybrid delivery and predictive sprint planning. That's great. So now you know how the and how it is shifting, how agile is shifting. We just spoke about it. So thanks for sharing your responses. Now we hope all of you are clear on all the four shifts that are happening and how you will also have to upskill yourselves, right? So, Louisa, I think that brings us to the very next segment. So, what does all of these shifts mean for everyone here in the audience for their careers? How does it change the way they look at their careers? How does it change opportunities out there? Is this the time they actually upskill? Do they have to? Like, this is one of the major questions we get. I practice Agile, but I'm not certified. Is it necessary that I certify myself? So, this is a very common question that we get. So, what does it mean for their careers?
Yeah, absolutely, Shweta. So I think as we've said, it's the role has changed in the fact that there's higher expectations, right? So before we used to think about the Scrum Master, for example, as the person that facilitated meetings, facilitated ceremonies. So you facilitate the daily stand-up, the retrospective, the sprint planning session. That is not enough anymore. It is still needed. It is critical. It is very important. Those good communication and facilitation skills are still going to be very critical. So if those are skills that you already have and that you have experience with, they're still going to be very helpful and very useful. But that is the starting point, not the finish line. Okay. So we are going to be seeing that organizations are going to be hiring Scrum Masters that are AI fluent. And a recent search on Indeed, uh, showed us that there were about 300 listings, job listings that specifically looked for AI Scrum Master. So will this become, the new term? You will see, but it is definitely something that we are seeing as a trend in hiring and that they're asking by name, and they're going to expect the person, the Scrum Master, to perhaps have a not just a Scrum Master certification, but a certification that is current, that is also teaching you how to incorporate AI into your job. So if you are already certified, perhaps, or you have some experience, you want to make sure that your certification either includes AI or that you are also upskilling yourself by having those AI certifications. So let's look a little bit more about what the career progress can be, right? Or what the role is actually asking for. So again, those fundamental, those essential skills that we expect to see in a Scrum Master are still going to be required. And I often say that with the appearance of AI and AI being in every possible industry, those people skills are becoming even more important because those are not going to be replaced by AI. So the coaching, the leadership, the emotional intelligence, the communication skills, and this is why I often say that even though my background was not in development or software engineering, those communication skills came very handy for project management and leading agile teams because those are still critical. Those are things that AI is not replacing. Managing stakeholders, nothing more complex than that. Human beings, we are very complex, right? We bring our own prejudices, our own life experiences, our own cultural differences. And so managing people is still going to be critical. But what is the new thing is that we have to be AI fluent. We have to be comfortable with AI assistant planning, with hybrid delivery. So you can no longer say, I only know Agile. You have to be able to move in a blended environment where perhaps more predictive governance is expected. You have to be comfortable with no code or low code coordination. Even if you are not an engineer, your team members are probably going to be using these tools. So you have to be comfortable speaking that same language and understanding what low code, no code means, or maybe being familiar with some of these platforms that allow you to do some of these automations, right? So when you master the fundamentals, you are qualified. But if you have both, you are going to be setting yourself apart from the rest of the candidates. So this is going to be very critical now for anybody who wants to stay relevant in this profession. So let's talk a little bit about the possible career progression. And I want to mention that this is not the only career progression, but it's a very typical one that we see. So a lot of people that go into Agile and perhaps they start as a Scrum Master, they start supporting one team, right? They support those facilitations. They are perhaps working with one team member, helping them enable value delivery and protecting the agile ceremonies, protecting the agile methodology, being very knowledgeable about speaking about what value agile delivers. Perhaps as they gain a little bit more experience, they can become a senior Scrum Master. So what does this mean? This means that perhaps they're supporting more than one team. They might be supporting multiple teams, but also they may be supporting leadership as well, right? They may also be supporting other Scrum Masters. So they can become coaches or mentors for those more junior Scrum Masters that are just starting their career. Now, an agile coach perhaps is not just supporting a Scrum team, but it is supporting perhaps the product owner. It's working with the client, with the customer, with the sponsor. It is interacting with functional departments in the organization, also explaining what agile means and how they can interact with agile teams better. So that would be sort of a normal progression. And then those agile coaches that develop a lot of experience can become very comfortable in those blended environments, navigating hybrid delivery environments where there's predictive and there's agile. They can also become enterprise-wide agile coaches. Those are going to be sitting at the table, making decisions, providing strategy, doing a lot of predictive analysis. They are going to be comfortable looking at historical data, doing forecasts, providing support for organizational alignment of strategic projects, right? So they are going to become a critical player in an organization and they are going to promote agile enterprise wide, explaining how agile delivery can bring benefits to an organization, not just for one team or a small project, but across the organization. So obviously there are going to be other Scrum Master or Agile practitioners that may go into a different career, maybe as product owners, maybe as project managers, but this is a very typical progression that we see. As those skills are developed, these are some of the expanded roles and expanded authority and influence that a Scrum Master can have.
Thank you so much for explaining this in depth, Luisa. We understand what it means for the career, for their careers, and also the opportunities that are out there if they decide to upskill. We also spoke about a few skills, but I'm sure everyone's thinking right now that if these are the skills employers actually value a lot, what's the best way to build them?
Definitely, I think staying curious. I absolutely believe in being lifelong learners. That is something that I have done all my life. I'm actually pursuing my second master's right now. I try to do at least a certification a year, if not more, be engaged in webinars and learning and acquiring new skills because this is what the profession demands from us. Are going to assist. So I think that is going to be the answer,
Right.
that certification.
Yes. So could you talk to us a little bit more about the CSM training and what it means for someone if they're opting for it, the duration of it, and how the exam would be? Because that's a question we get asked a lot.
Okay, so for this certification, you don't need any prior certification. Oftentimes people think that they need to be a PMP or that they need to have another certification. You don't. You don't even need an agile background. It is a 2-day course, and then you're going to have a 50 question, 1 hour exam that you need to get 74% to pass, right? So it is perhaps a more accessible certification than other certifications out there that require a lot more time investment and that have perhaps tests or exams that are a little bit more involved. So this is built for perhaps people that are PMs that are working as project managers, as team leads, business analysts as well, and any Scrum Master that perhaps is ready to upskill. Perhaps you have been working as a Scrum Master and maybe you didn't know or you never had the official title, but now you're ready to have that certification, those 3 letters after your name that are going to give you that credential to stand out and to say, yes, I have the skills to be a relevant and an AI fluent Scrum Master.
Right. And this also opens up a lot of senior role opportunities for CSM. So could you talk about how this could benefit someone who is thinking about, getting a promotion or moving on to a senior role?
Yes, absolutely. I think especially this is something that I noticed in the project management industry is that credentials are really important. Certifications are really important, more than in other industries, perhaps. And so when you do the CSM training, you are going to be learning, obviously, the Scrum fundamentals, right? What is the Scrum methodology? What are the ceremonies, the terminology, the language? What are the principles that the Scrum methodology has? But you are also going to build the judgment to apply those inside an AI powered environment, right? So doing that predictive planning that we talked about, doing that hybrid delivery, yes, knowing very well what agile means, but also understanding that perhaps you're going to be working in an environment where there's still a predictive environment, right? The no code that we discussed about, so perhaps becoming familiar with some of those tools. And so it is going to perhaps unlock those more senior opportunities of career. So a senior Scrum Master, becoming an Agile coach, becoming an enterprise Agile coach, right? Because being a CSM is the baseline, right? That is going to be the sort of the expectation for the starting point for anybody who wants to grow in that career.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Luisa. I think now that we understand the importance of CSM and the opportunities that it can, open up for you, I think it's time for us to talk about the course that we provide at Simplilearn. It is Simplilearn Certified some Scrum Master certification, and this is also a 2-day course. We're going to talk a little more in detail about this for anyone who is thinking about upskilling themselves or even transitioning into this role. I think this is a very good certification. So we are going to take you through some of the key highlights of this certification. So here's actually what's included. So you are going to be trained directly by certified Scrum trainers, not just generic instructors. These are really trained instructors. So the learning that we have here is completely hands-on. It comes with credits towards your ongoing development as well. Everything that we teach is aligned with the Scrum Alliance standards. So there is no ambiguity about what you're getting. It is very clear. It's whatever is recommended. Your CSM exam fee is included in the program along with a free retake option if you need it, which honestly removes a lot of pressure that people feel while walking into that exam. And that is exactly what we have tried to eliminate over here. And you also get complete guidance for exam success, plus access to preparation materials and also mock exams. So you will have all the confidence that you need and the preparation before you enter your exam. So most of our candidates pass the exam on their very first attempt also because of the kind of training that we provide here. So when it comes to the skills and benefits, the Scrum framework applications, sprint planning and delivery, facilitating Scrum events. So these are all the skills that you are going to gain as a part of this certification program. So this is a very practical skill set. And in terms of what it is worth in the market, according to Glassdoor, Scrum Master salaries in the US range from around $100,000 at the lower end up to $165,000, with an average closer to 128K. And according to Indeed, companies actively hiring for these skills include names like Accenture, JP Morgan Chase, IBM, and Adobe. So this isn't a niche skill set. It's one that actually opens up some of the biggest opportunities for you in the world out there. So there's a lot more you can explore in this. And again, in the interest of time, we will not be able to deep dive into the skills that are going to be a part of this program or the learning path. So if you would want to know more about the learning path in itself, we have I will share the course link with you in the chat, and there's a QR code that you can scan, which will take you to the page where there's details about all the learning path, every module that's covered, and all the skills and frameworks. So us talking about the course is something, but hearing from actual people who completed the courses with us is a different experience altogether. So these are some of the testimonials that we have. So Sugant says that he has always liked sharing a couple of real outcomes rather than just talking in the abstract. Sugant Rajan, who is now a senior product manager, said that he chose Simplilearn from the comprehensive curriculum and blended learning format, combining self-paced study with live classroom training, and that experience helped him move into his current role at Bosch Global Software Technologies with a 30% salary hike. And then we have Karthik Jaipal. So he is now an assistant manager in quality analysis. And he said that his learning experience was excellent. He cleared the exam on his very first attempt, like a lot of our students as well, and went on to land a role at Solve, a division of Standard Chartered, with a 35% salary hike. So these both of them are from different backgrounds, different companies, but it's the same underlying pattern. So with a structured training, they have actually gotten into a great career opportunity, great roles with amazing heights. So this is also something that could happen to you if you are interested to enroll in our program. So I can see a lot of questions about the course fee. So consider this an investment. This is probably going to change how you approach your career and opportunities out there for you. So for Indian learners, the course fee is 17,135 rupees, and for US learners, this is $349. If you're joining us from anywhere else in the world and would like to know how the course fee in your specific currency, you can just go to the course page and it will show you the course fee in your currency as well. So what is this inclusive of? So like we mentioned earlier, it's a 2 to 3 days of online virtual training. So it's inclusive of the CSM exam fee, and you also get a 2-year membership with Scrum Alliance as a part of this. We will also be training you. You will also be trained by globally acclaimed CSTs, and this will be considered as your PDUs and SEUs. So if you are interested to enroll for the program, I will share the course link with you right now in the chat. And if you want to, if you're not able to see that, you can scan this QR code. It takes you directly to the course page where there are learning outcomes, the whole course curriculum, everything that we are going to be covering. So please go ahead and take a look at that. In the meantime, I'll quickly launch a poll. So if you'd like to know more about this program and how what the benefits of it, and if you're thinking about making a choice, you can click on a yes, and our expert advisors will reach out to you at the earliest. You may have a lot of questions that we have not been able to answer in this 1 hour duration, but they will be more than happy to assist you with any questions that you may have. So I have launched the poll right now, and I can see that a lot of you are responding with a yes. That's wonderful to see. Great. All right. So many of you saying yes. So we're really looking forward to having you all as a part of our CSM journey. Hopefully, you will all be a part of Simplilearn. So please go ahead and share your responses. I'll keep this poll live for some more time. So the poll will be live for a while. And if you have any questions in the meantime, you can feel free to share your questions in the Q&A box, and I'll make sure that I pass this on to Louisa. All right. So if you guys are, sharing your responses in the poll, or if the poll is not visible to all of you, you can go to the course page, and in the course page, there will be an option to talk to the advisor. You can click on that, and our team will be there to assist you. So I'll quickly check the Q&A box and pass it on to Louisa. So, Louisa, there's a question from Ritika. She says she's a fresher with no job yet. Will a CSM on my resume actually help me get hired, or do companies only take it seriously once you have the experience? Is it basically good for a fresher?
Absolutely, yes. I think as I mentioned in this industry, it is something that I've noticed that credentials are very important because they provide a standard that is internationally recognized, that you have gone through a program that is accredited, that is well known, and that is going to certify that you have learned the skills. And specifically in this program, you're not just learning theory, but you're learning how to apply it. So, if you are looking to start your career, I think definitely while you build the experience, a credential can be the way that you can stand out from other applying for other people from other people that are applying, because you do have a certification that is certifying that you have gone through a program, that you have learned the skills, that you have the knowledge that is required to start this career. So definitely, having those three letters after your name just in your LinkedIn profile, it is going to help you stand out. I absolutely think that building experience is needed, it's critical. But if you are just starting your career, a certification, a credential, it is going to be a critical first step.
Right. Thank you so much for answering that. So we have another question, and this is from Kennedy, and he is asking that I keep hearing Scrum Master and Project Manager used almost interchangeably at my company. Are they actually the same role with a different name? And is Agile a major part of project management as well right now?
Okay, good question. So they're not the same. They're not exactly the same. So the Scrum Master is going to focus on learning the Agile methodology. Agile, and specifically Scrum, is a very prescriptive methodology. So that means that it has very standard ceremonies, languages. Everything is time boxed, meaning that for every ceremony, there is a recommended duration. For example, the daily stand up, which is the meeting that the team has every morning, it's supposed to be 15 minutes, right? So it is very prescriptive. It is not complicated to learn, but it requires that skills are mastered in order to apply it correctly. So what is that? That's what the Scrum Master is going to be focused on, right? As we said, the Scrum Master is going to have an understanding on how to navigate a blended or a hybrid environment, right? The PM, the project manager, is going to be learning both about agile and predictive. So they are going to be able to lead projects that are not just agile but also predictive, and perhaps they're not going to go in as much depth into what Scrum is. The project manager learns about the Agile framework, which is more the umbrella term for different methodologies such as Scrum, that are going to be focused on that frequent delivery and whatnot. So I would say Scrum is one particular methodology within the Agile umbrella framework that you are going to be doing a deep dive when you go into a CSM certification, while the PM is going to be learning in more general terms the Agile methodology, but also the predictive methodology. So I think my recommendation would be to decide what attracts you more. Do you think that you're going to be working or applying for jobs in companies that are working mostly predictive or hybrid? Or are you going to go into companies that are software developer or startups that are probably working more with Agile and specifically with the Scrum methodology, which is the most popular Agile methodology out there today? So depending on which kind of career path you want to go to, then you are going to choose the certification or the upskilling that is going to be best for you. But CSM, I would say it is the standard certification for anybody who wants to become a Scrum Master, meaning that you're going to be working with Scrum teams, helping them understand and adopt the methodology, which, as we said, it is very prescriptive. It has very clear rules, and you have to master those in order to support a team that is working on Scrum.
Right. I think that clearly explains the difference. Thank you so much for that answer, Luisa. And with that, I'm going to quickly end the interest poll right now. If you were not able to see the poll, you can, like I mentioned earlier, you can go to the course page and click on the Talk to an Advisor option. And right now, I'm going to launch the next poll, which is the attendance for the attendance certificate. So I have launch the poll now. All you'll have to do is fill your full name as you want in the certificate, and you will be receiving the certificate in the next 48 working hours. So I can see that all of you are sharing your names. That's great to see. I think this, as you all fill up your responses, I can ask one last question to Luisa. I think we've got a lot of questions. We've tried to answer as many questions as we can in the Q&A box itself. But Luisa, the last question I'd like to ask you is this CSM exam an open book exam?
I believe it is. Yes, I believe that you can, it's an open book and you will be, after your class, you will be prepared for your exam. So I definitely think it is, as I mentioned, a little bit of a more accessible exam than other certifications out there. So we definitely have, most of our students they're passing on their first stake. So that would be something that I wouldn't worry too much about.
Right. Thank you for that, Luisa. I think we have answered most of your questions by now, and in the interest of time, we will have to come to an end of to this webinar. I am quickly stopping the poll for the certificates. If you were not able to see the poll for this, as a few of you mentioned that as well in the chat, so you can write to us at webinars@simplilearn.net, and we will share the certificate with you. You can just mention that you've been a part of this program. And with that, I think we've come to an end, and it has been a wonderful session. Some great insights, Luisa. It was wonderful to have you lead this webinar, and it was amazing. We got such great engagement from our audience. So before we wrap up, I just want to quickly ask you, is there anything, any piece of advice that you would like to leave with our audience before we wrap the session?
Thank you so much, Shweta, for having me. This was great. My recommendation is stay curious. Stay curious, always learn, always look for how to acquire new skills, to see what's happening. Don't get comfortable. See what's out there. There's so many learning opportunities today, so many new things happening. And this is Simplilearn is one of the organizations that is leading the opportunity for so many people to have access to these new skills. So stay curious, learn a lot, and be a lifelong learner.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Luisa. That was great from your side. And with that, I would also like to thank all of you for being such a wonderful audience, for sharing your wonderful responses in the chat box, and for engaging throughout the webinar. It was really nice to see all of you participate and be a part of our sessions. We really look forward to having a lot of you join our programs as well and be a part of Simplilearn family. But if you have any more recommendations for webinars, please write to us with your suggestions. We would be more than happy to hear from you. So with that, I'm going to conclude this webinar. Thank you all, and I hope to see you all in the upcoming sessions. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to end